In the heart of Whisperwood Valley, where the sun seemed to smile a little wider, lived an old farmer named Silas. His pride and joy wasn't a grand farmhouse or a herd of cattle, but a sprawling peach orchard. Each spring, the trees would burst into a cloud of pink and white blossoms, a promise of the sweet, juicy fruit to come. Silas tended to his trees with a gentle hand, talking to them as if they were old friends. Not far from the orchard, in a cozy den tucked beneath the roots of an ancient oak, lived a clever fox named Finley. Finley had a reputation among the woodland creatures for his quick wit and even quicker paws. He was a curious fox, and he often watched Silas from a distance, intrigued by the old man's devotion to his trees. Finley knew the rhythm of the orchard, the buzzing of bees in spring, the heavy scent of ripe peaches in summer, and the quiet slumber of the trees in winter. One crisp spring evening, a strange chill crept into the air. The sun had set in a blaze of orange and purple, but the warmth of the day vanished with it. A cold wind began to whisper through the valley, carrying a sharp, icy bite. Finley, with his keen senses, felt the sudden drop in temperature. He lifted his nose to the air and smelled something unusual, something that made his whiskers twitch with concern. Frost. A late frost, sharp and severe, was descending upon the valley. Finley's thoughts immediately flew to the peach orchard. He had seen the trees just that morning, covered in delicate, hopeful blossoms. He knew what a frost like this could do. It could steal the promise of every single peach, turning the beautiful flowers into shriveled brown disappointments. He thought of old Silas, who had poured so much love and labor into this land. An idea, bold and urgent, sparked in Finley's mind. He couldn't just watch this happen. Cute, without a moment's hesitation, Finley darted from his den. Q's first stop was the hollow log where Barnaby the badger lived. Barnaby was strong and dependable, known for his incredible digging skills. Finley chittered urgently, explaining the situation. Barnaby's brow furrowed with concern. A frost, you say? On the blossoms. Silas will be heartbroken. Next, Finley raced to the tallest pine tree, the home of a family of squirrels led by a matriarch named Squeaky. They were nimble and quick, able to climb anything. Finley explained the plan, his tail flicking with a mix of anxiety and determination. The squirrels chattered amongst themselves, their bright eyes wide. They understood the gravity of the situation. The orchard provided fallen fruit and a safe haven for many of them. His final visit was to the stream, where a wise old owl named Professor Hoot resided. The professor was known throughout the woods for his knowledge. Finley laid out his plan. They needed to cover the trees. He had seen Silas store old tarps and burlap sacks in the lean-to shed by the barn. They also needed warmth. Small, contained fires, strategically placed, could raise the air temperature just enough to protect the delicate blooms. Professor Hoot blinked his large round eyes slowly. Commendable plan, young Finley, he hooted softly. But a risky one. Fire is a dangerous friend. We must be exceptionally careful. He agreed to oversee the operation, his keen eyes able to spot any stray embers from above. With his team assembled, Finley led the charge towards Silas's farm. The moon cast long, eerie shadows as they approached the shed. Barnaby, with his powerful claws, worked on the simple latch of the shed door. With a soft click, it swung open. Inside, just as Finley remembered, were stacks of old tarps and burlap sacks. The squirrels sprang into action. They scurried into the shed, each grabbing a corner of a sack or a fold of a tarp. It was a chaotic but strangely organized ballet of fur and fabric. They dragged the coverings out and towards the orchard, their small bodies straining with the effort. In the orchard, the real work began. The squirrels scrambled up the trunks of the peach trees, their claws finding easy purchase in the bark. They passed the tarps and sacks up to each other, draping them carefully over the blossoming branches. It was a slow and painstaking process. The cold was biting now, and the leaves were beginning to stiffen with a delicate layer of ice. Meanwhile, Barnaby and Finley were on fire duty. They gathered dry twigs and small fallen branches, creating several small piles in the open spaces between the rows of trees. They were careful to clear the ground around each pile, creating a safe, barren circle of earth. Finley, using 2 sharp stones he had practiced with, struck a spark. A tiny flame flickered to life. They carefully nurtured it, feeding it small twigs until each pile was a small, controlled bonfire, casting a warm orange glow against the encroaching frost. From his perch, Professor Hoot watched over everything. More to the left, Squeaky. He'd call out if a branch was missed. Barnaby, that fire is a little too close to the low-hanging branches. Move it back a foot. His calm, authoritative voice guided them through the night. The air was thick with tension. Every gust of wind threatened to blow out their precious fires or send a spark where it shouldn't go. The cold was relentless, seeping into their bones. Finley's paws were numb, and Barnaby's back ached from digging and carrying wood. But no one stopped. They worked as one, a silent, determined team, united by a single purpose: to save the peaches. They were driven by the image of Silas's kind face, clouded with sadness. As the darkest part of the night began to yield to the first hints of dawn, a collective sigh of exhaustion rippled through the little crew. The fires were now just glowing embers, and the trees stood like silent, shrouded ghosts under their makeshift blankets. They had done all they could. One by one, the woodland creatures slipped back into the shadows of the forest, their mission complete. Finley lingered for a moment, looking over their handiwork, his heart pounding with a mixture of hope and fear. The sun rose, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and gold. The warmth of its rays slowly melted the frost from the grass and leaves. Old Silas stepped out of his farmhouse, a heavy feeling in his heart. He had felt the bitter cold in the night and feared the worst. He walked towards his orchard, bracing himself for the sight of ruined blossoms. But as he drew closer, he stopped in his tracks, his eyes widening in disbelief. His trees were covered, draped in old tarps and sacks from his shed. Between the rows were the dying embers of small, carefully managed fires. He walked from tree to tree, lifting the coverings. Beneath them, the pink and white blossoms were perfect, untouched by the frost, dewy and vibrant in the morning light. Silas was utterly bewildered. Who could have done this? It was a miracle. A wave of immense gratitude washed over him. He looked around, searching for any sign of his mysterious saviors. But the orchard was empty and quiet, save for the chirping of early morning birds. Later that morning, as Silas sat on his porch trying to piece together the night's events, he noticed something on his doorstep. It was a single, perfect, early-ripened peach from a wild tree that grew deep in the woods. It was a type of peach he had never seen in his own orchard. There were no footprints, no clues, just the peach, a silent offering. Silas picked it up, a slow smile spreading across his weathered face. He didn't know how, and he didn't know why, but he understood. It was a message. A symbol of a new, unspoken friendship. From that day on, Silas always left a small bowl of fresh cream on his porch every evening. And from the edge of the woods, a clever fox with bright, intelligent eyes would watch, a silent guardian of the peach orchard and a loyal friend to the kind old man. Thanks for watching our story today. If you enjoyed Finley's adventure, do unforget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming tales from the woods. See you next time.